Pick your class and
earn your battle points.
Because it's time for the Star Wars Battlefront Podcast. Welcome to episode 165 of the Star Wars Battlefront Podcast. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, joined by my brother and co-host, Sam Goodwin.
Hello there.
In this episode, we're going over all of our thoughts on the world of the new update. Where are those Droidekas? They're here, and we've got thoughts.
Let's get started.
Sector is clear. Not clear. Not clear.
First, though, we have follow-up from last episode. One of our listeners, friend of the podcast, Dusty Ricketts, sent in a voicemail that we will play now.
Hi, Sage and Sam. Thank you for letting me be part of the podcast. My name is Dusty Ricketts. I write a weekly video game column for the Northwest Florida Daily News that's syndicated throughout Gatehouse Media called Play Life, Live Games. After I listened to last week's episode on arcade content, what you guys liked, what you would like to see change, I was surprised that you didn't mention anything about the latest community transmission and the news we received on the upcoming PVE mode. So I reached out to the guys on Twitter. They asked me to just record something short on what we found out in the community transmission, what we've heard about the modes since then, and kind of what it could mean for the future Battlefront. So, the last community transmission was huge. For most people, the Droidekas was the big news. For me, it was all about the PvE mode. This is something I've been looking forward to for a long time. Dennis Brownville first announced a new large-scale offline mode was going to be coming to the game back in June of last year at EA Play. So this has been a long time coming. The big news that's really come out of this is it looks like we're going to be getting more than one mode. The roadmap has been updated, and it says that the first of these new PvE modes will drop in August. And since that time, Benoit replied to a comment on Twitter and stated that they don't even have a name internally for the different modes. So it's definitely looking like we're getting more than one. My thought on that is I believe the first mode we get will probably be just a straight offline version of Capital Supremacy. So Clone Wars only, ground phases, conquering the command post, and then going up into the command ships. I believe the second mode we get will be something more like the instant action we had in the original Battlefront games. So like the ground phase of the current Capital Supremacy, but I think this will be playable on every Galactic Assault map in the game. So we'll have prequel content, original trilogy, sequel trilogy. That's the one I'm really looking forward to, if it comes true. Sage, Sam, what do you think?
Dusty was right. We forgot to go completely in depth to the PvE mode. One of the reasons that was the case is, one, I had totally blanked on it, and two, something happens every time we release a podcast. Days later, we get more details on the thing that we're actually discussing, which is quite a fun little game to play. But what do you think about those thoughts?
I think the speculation concerning how Capital Supremacy is going to be the first game mode, I think that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
that was a fair point.
I agree. I think that his speculation that the first of those PvE modes will be Capital Supremacy, I think it makes sense. I would also love, he speculates that I believe that the second one that he thinks is coming will be something that's specifically geared towards all eras. I think there is definitely a place in the arcade family of supporters and those hashtag solo players that definitely would love that. I would love that. I would definitely love a we were talking about this. I was watching Sam play some Battlefront 2, the new update, right before we recorded. And Battlefront 2 definitely feels more of a... we've got Battlefront 2015, which was specifically geared towards the original trilogy. But Battlefront 2 definitely feels like a prequel trilogy game, especially with Capital Supremacy. I mean, if you're just playing Capital Supremacy, you're just playing prequels.
Because obviously we want to see him add some more vanilla game modes like Capital Supremacy to arcade mode, but I'd definitely like to see some type of horde game mode, kind of like an endless, PvE type would be really cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they get creative with it and just don't completely play it safe.
Yeah, I would definitely love to see a specifically made game mode that is for those offline players. Something that is unique to arcade mode, something that's unique towards that whole experience. I would love to see them really take advantage of that opportunity. Definitely, if you have some thoughts on the next PvE mode and will have something to share, you can do like Dusty Ricketts did, which is you can record something on your phone and send it into our email, which is battlefrontpodcast@gmail.com. And if you have any topic ideas, definitely send them that way as well. We'd really appreciate it, and we'll give you a shout out on the show. I really like the podcast format where we can have a conversation like this. It's definitely something that the format really takes advantage of. But now, let us discuss. Where are those Droidekas update?
Hello there, I am Dennis Brandval from the Star Wars Battlefront 2 team. In this update, Droidekas finally roll out on the battlefront. TX-130 tanks reinforces the Galactic Republic, and capital ships station themselves above Naboo in capital supremacy. Also, more appearances arrive to the clone army and Anakin Skywalker. The separatist Droideka is a dreaded and tough force in battle with its heavy twin blasters and protective energy shield. The laser barrage, a burst of menacing, high-rate blaster fire, is an effective way to clear the area of targets. While slow on three legs, the Droideka can transform itself into a wheel and roll rapidly between positions on the battlefront. At the expense of firepower and mobility, the energy shield is a practical tool in a pinch. The TX-130, on the other hand, reinforces the side of the Galactic Republic. This tank can fire rockets individually from each side or unleash multiple missiles at once for devastating impact. Anakin's selection of appearances is now expanded with the General Skywalker appearance, a set of Jedi robes with armor that he wore during the early days of the Clone Wars. The 212th Recon Division and the 41st Scout Battalion are also joining the clone army as appearances. That's all for this update, but here's a peek at what we're bringing to Star Wars Battlefront 2 next, including the new planet Felucia, as well as new ways to play the game.
More on the way!
Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.
Let's get into it. So, just an overview of the update. We've got Droidekas. We've got the TX-130 tank. We've got Naboo at dusk, Capital Supremacy, and we've got some hero changes as well. Blaster heroes can now crouch, something that they were unable to do before, but now are able to. Let's start off with the big thing everyone was hoping for, everyone was wanting for months and months. Let's talk about those Droidekas.
Where are those Droidekas? Master, destroy us!
So far, I think they're really balanced because I thought they were going to be overpowered, but I've been really testing them, and I guess they're a little on the overpowered side, but you're telling me that some people have been complaining that they're a little too underpowered.
Okay, so the general consensus on the Droidekas are definitely that they're weak, but I think everyone was expecting them to be extreme tanks. But if you go into the game and you're playing it and you don't expect them to be those massive tanks, they are definitely balanced. I think for what they are, if you actually adjust your play style where you're not just running in, it definitely helps you play the Droideka better.
Because he's more of a reserve play style, like really going in with the groups already, because you can't really hold your own by yourself.
Yeah. A great technique I saw, actually, which is very strange. So a great technique is to go into your wheel form, the little roly boy form. Get that roly boy going. And that's what you use to evade everyone and get to the objective Once you get there, you pop your shield and then claim it. It's actually a very successful and very smart move there. You said that you feel they're pretty balanced. What about it screams balance to you?
Just really coming out of the roll form, you kind of have to prepare for that because it's not really instantaneous.
Yeah. You definitely have to set yourself up for it.
Because the original Battlefront 2 was a little more instantaneous in that aspect. And I feel like it's a little more balanced. They have some vulnerability when they're coming out, so you can definitely put some damage on them. They're kind of bad on the open maps because they're just like they're like a target. You see the blue glimmer and you're just shooting that.
You definitely want to play these reinforcements in a map where you can hide behind things, just so you can duck behind for your abilities to reload.
But with every map, there's obviously going to be, some enclosed areas. Just like really using the map to your advantage, playing strategically, always with your troops is really the way to go.
Yeah, definitely stick
like,
with your people.
Don't just roll up into a combat scene and start blasting. You need to really go kind of around a pillar if you can, and then activate your shield and then walk around the corner.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely want to play it safe with the Droidekas.
And really compared to the original Battlefront 2 Droideka, the shield's on the weaker side, but it does regen fairly quickly.
It does.
I think it balances out.
Quick regen for him.
The thing I was disappointed about was how the rollout form was one of his abilities. It's kind of like the conundrum of having Boba Fett's jetpack as his middle card when he really needs. We all obviously know he has a jetpack, and the Droidekas, it's built into their sprint. It shouldn't be an ability you have to activate. I feel like they should have added another, maybe missile type move instead of having that just be a filler space.
I'm not too hung up on that. I think it's better to have the button for it, because a lot of the times with the sprint it doesn't work for me, or it's not consistent.
I feel like I was saying, Boba Fett has a jetpack as an ability, which is frustrating because he's so bad. But I guess it kind of balances him out in a way, so he's not that's another contributing factor to why he's balanced. Just a thing that I wasn't expecting that to happen when I loaded up Battlefront and picked the Droideka.
Something I'd like to talk about is the Droideka's terrible range. That is the thing that I think if they're going to buff it, I think that's where they need to buff it, because it's just useless at range, and it needs to be effective at range because it doesn't have the level of the strength that it needs to be that close range reinforcement. You definitely want your beast like the Droideka to be able to be effective at long range, and right now he's just not.
I feel like he's more of a close range type character. I mean, obviously they need to buff the drop off because it is pretty ridiculous. I mean, maybe even make that would have been cool if they made the third card some kind of, snipe, or maybe even make his barrage a little more accuracy based rather than just spray and pray, because that's really what his weapons do. He's really similar to the ARC Trooper as its counterpart, more so than the Infiltrator is, I feel. More with the dual wielding blasters, more of a defensive play style.
Droidekas, oh my gosh, so much fun to play. I am having an absolute blast playing the Droideka. It is incredibly fun.
I feel like the Separatist is the most fun faction to play right now. You have the Infiltrator, which is kind of like a ninja basically, and you also have like a roly-poly robot. So I feel like the Separatists have a lot going for them right now.
Definitely.
But I guess as in a film perspective, the Separatists normally have more gimmicky type because they're robots. So yeah. I feel like it works out.
But man, hear me out. Okay, hear me out. We need a limited time game mode that implements the incredibly fun rolling ability of the Droidekas. Needs to be Droideka races. Limited time game mode. Let's make it happen.
I mean, I'm still stuck on the limited time game mode where you can just be reinforcement classes. Infinite respawn. You can be like an entire team of Droidekas, no caps on your
that would be amazing.
Your troops. Because there's a considerable amount of at least on the Clone Wars side of reinforcement, so they could definitely make a game mode surrounding that type of mechanic.
I think that would be cool weekend thing that they do, that they implement in the roadmap. They've got like the Heroes Unleashed, they've got where the cooldowns are all low. I could definitely see them doing something like that.
They don't have to change any infrastructure because it's already there. And so, yeah, that would really work. And definitely be in a more smaller type kind of blast setting, like Hero Blast, but with reinforcements.
Yeah, reinforcement blast. That could be fun. That could be really fun.
But then you have to draw the line if you want tanks as well. I would probably say no.
Yeah, that
But
would
then
be
it'd be cool if they had an LTO with just the tanks against each other.
That
like on
actually would
Naboo.
be really fun. Before we get to the tank, I want to talk about the new map. Capital Supremacy has a new map. I was not prepared for how much fun I would have on this map. And the new map is Naboo. It's set at dusk, and it's a reworked version of the Galactic Assault map. So it's not just a straight transport over into Capital Supremacy. It's a rework of that original map. But my gosh, so much fun.
I feel like this is the one they should have introduced it with, but obviously they had Geonosis coming, so.
Yeah.
But this is my favorite map to play for Capital Supremacy for sure.
Hands down. And this isn't just
Because when you think
because
about
it's new.
capturing command posts, it's more in a kind of urban environment, at least in like a strategic kind of film setting, but obviously Geonosis on original Battlefront 2 was really fun. I can't remember the planet's name, but I believe they had Endor was really cool. Felucia was really cool. So a lot of these remote planets, which does work for Geonosis, but definitely just the environment in Naboo definitely is really working for Capital Supremacy.
Yes, I love the closer quarters map, and it really forces you to get down and dirty with the gameplay and the combat. I have so much fun going through the corridors. I don't feel like in Kashyyyk really, where man, like everything's so far away. I don't know where everything is. It's very linear. This is so open.
It's really balanced because you can only really traverse a tank in the middle ground, so you don't have like problems of tanks camping on a command post and shooting everyone.
Exactly.
So really, really well balanced. I think it works extremely well.
And speaking of tanks, let's talk about the TX-130. This update was just so full of many little surprises. Like, I was expecting it to be just a regular kind of tank. I was surprised by it's not that at all.
It's like a mix between the Walker and the big AT-TE, I feel.
Which I think works incredibly well. It's a beast. A caveat, it's really slow, but it's got a lot of health and it does a lot of damage. So I think those things even it out. Overall, though, I think this patch is pretty balanced.
I've never been the biggest fan of vehicle reinforcements, but I did play it one time and got destroyed. But I was on Kashyyyk in the middle of the map, and General Grievous was chasing me. But it was fun. Definitely, it's a little different from the playstyle. The abilities are amazing.
Mm-hmm. Something that I would like to just update everyone on. Yesterday when the patch launched, as we're recording yesterday, Wednesday, it released with a bug where during a transition phase between the ground and the capital ships, it would crash. The game would crash, kick you out of the home screen, and it was happening on PC and it was happening on Xbox as well. They are looking into it and they're working on a patch to fix that. Have you had that experience at all? Were you able to play completely through?
Yeah, I played 3 games and they were completely fine.
Okay. Every game that I played had that issue, and it was very consistent, but I was not able to record it to send it off, but I did get in contact with EA Help and let them know the situation. And just for future reference, EA Help is one of the places that you should tag in any bug fixes or that kind of thing. They are the people to get in contact with.
Unless it's a really good bug like getting infinite score, then just leave it alone and contact me privately and get in touch with me so I can abuse it with you. Yeah, don't let them know about the good bugs, guys. Just the bad ones.
Okay. Now let's get into some of the patch changes that they have for this update. Oh, also on top of all of that content that we talked about, they also have the 212th Recon Division Clone Trooper appearances as well as the 41st Scout Battalion. Release notes. Naboo, Theed is now available to play on Capital Supremacy. Oh my gosh.
But at this point, I feel like they're just taking random numbers and letters and combining them for skins because it's just nonstop. It just keeps coming.
Starting off, quality of life. They improved the readability of the front-end messages. They also improved messaging when offers include both emotes and the corresponding voice line. For hero changes, they improved various visual improvements to the lightsaber blades for all heroes, adding pointed tips and improving their brightness. For blaster heroes can now crouch, so that's good to see. Community request. Adjusted the values of health on defeat star cards to be consistent across all heroes. Heal values upon defeating enemy heroes have been changed.
Concerning the crouching, that should have been here the entirety of the game.
Yeah, it was something that was very surprising that they didn't have.
Yeah, it's something you shouldn't have missed. It's crazy.
But I am so glad that they added it.
They are.
And it works great.
They take these common things away and then add it. And then it feels like it's the biggest thing ever, but it should have been here the entire time. It's like taking away your water supply and giving it to you later, and then you being grateful that you should have had water this entire time.
For the hero changes, Anakin, Count Dooku, Iden Versio, Rey, and Emperor Palpatine have all been adjusted to 40 for the first level, 60 for the second, 80 for the third, and then 100 for the fourth. They adjusted the animation of Yoda's attacks for speed. They fixed an issue for Darth Maul for Furious Throw, where the lightsaber could get stuck in the AT-TE, E-Web, DF9, Hard Cell, or the AAT vehicles. And they fixed an issue where Darth Maul's spin attack ability continued to affect enemies if Darth Maul died during the animation. For Anakin, they're adjusting him again. Anakin is released from the pull dominance ability animation sooner. And they fixed an issue where the Passionate Strike ability would not inflict lightsaber marks on objects. They fixed an issue where General Grievous was no longer able to block with the Unrelenting Advance ability if activated after holding the block button. I did experience that, and it's something that you can just casually do too. For Count Dooku, they fixed an issue where enemies could escape Count Dooku's exposed weakness by dashing or doing a combat roll. And they fixed an issue where Count Dooku's body would slightly shake when performing an emote, as well as fixing an issue where Count Dooku's right-hand thumb was clipping the hilt of his lightsaber. You know, there's a lot of hate out there for DICE on they're not fixing things, but they have a great attention to detail. They actually do a lot of visual changes that you don't really get to appreciate, but it's a great thing that they do. For Obi-Wan, they fixed an issue where the defensive rush ability would not inflict lightsaber marks on objects, and they fixed the delay between the animation of the defensive rush and the visual effects when attacking an enemy who is blocking.
But the thing is, they're fixing Count Dooku's thumb and not adding new skins for heroes.
Well, it's much easier to fix a thumb than make an entire new skin.
This is true.
There were some adjustments to Chewbacca. They adjusted Iden's Friend in Battle star card. They actually did a lot to Luke Skywalker. They reduced the recharge time of repulse from 20 seconds to 17 seconds. They increased the base radius of repulse from 10 to 12 meters. They changed Luke's Jedi fighter stamina drain and decrease from 5, 6, 8, and 10 to 20, 25, 30, and 35. They adjusted the animation of Luke's attacks for speed, making him a little bit faster. They fixed an issue where Luke could damage enemies with rush after dying, and they fixed an issue where Luke's fingers were clipping with his lightsaber hilt when performing the Greetings Exalted One emote. Looks like they had a lot of issues with hands, because they also fixed an issue with Leia Organa, with her hand clipping her head.
I'd assume this is a recent development.
I think so. Emperor Palpatine, they changed lightning absorption star card to take effect whenever Palpatine defeats an enemy. They also fixed an issue. Han Solo's shirt was clipping through his jacket when on low settings. That was for PC. They fixed an issue with Kylo Ren, where Kylo Ren could inflict damage on enemies who are blocking with lightsabers when using pull.
I feel like the Kylo Ren's pull ability should somehow damage through lightsabers, so that kind of makes sense. Kylo Ren's so bad.
Well, for a while he was actually pretty beast.
I feel like when they released the game, he was good. His abilities are at their core really good abilities, but they just don't deliver.
Well, I think it was a couple patches ago. For some reason, I was constantly getting destroyed by Kylo Ren. Something about his pull had an insane reach.
He doesn't do enough damage. That's his problem. Also, we did forget to touch base concerning lightsabers do beat out the Droidekas shield. We were speculating about that last episode,
So
which makes sense because they're both energy based. That's how it works in Lego Star Wars. So I mean, it should work in this game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's why we should have bikini stormtroopers. I mean, the logic from Lego Star Wars carries over perfectly with the Droidekas to Battlefront 2.
They need to just start taking physics from Lego Star Wars and converting it. At this point, just make a live action type Lego Star Wars game.
Who needs voiceover lines when you've got grunts?
Yeah, low budget. Like, I mean, they could put more money in a DLC, so save a lot of money.
For Capital Supremacy Ground Phase, they fixed a visual issue where a character's UI bar health would widen when boarding a transport in the ground phase. They fixed an issue where AI would not fire at a player inside a vehicle, and they fixed an issue where the color would occasionally be different between the hologram and the base of the command post when a player joins a match late. Can we talk about AI for a second? Just a short pause. The AI is so much better.
Yeah, they actually pursue the objective. It's crazy.
They pursue the objective. They melee Droidekas when they get close. Overall, though,
they're hard to shoot because they're always strafing around.
They strafe. I've seen them jump to avoid blaster bolts.
Obviously, they're easy to kill, but just the AI is definitely improved.
I have gotten AI and people mixed up before, so definitely.
Yeah, I was capturing a command post on the far side, and there was 3 AI that kept spawning, and they would contest us.
Mm-hmm.
Like the other team wasn't doing anything; their AI was doing the objective.
Yeah, so. Pat yourselves on the back, DICE. Great job on the AI. For the capital ships phase of Supremacy, they fixed an issue where background starfighters could occasionally be seen when inside the capital ships. They fixed a visual issue where the name of an enemy that sabotages an objective appeared blue, friendly, in the event log. They fixed lighting bugs in the Dreadnought hangar ceiling, and they fixed an issue where the spotlights of the cooling room core ceiling were misplaced. And then they fixed various issues with rendering of assets caused by server latency for the cinematics. For general changes and miscellaneous, they fixed an issue where selecting the chat channel using the mouse would cause various issues. The chat would not open the last used channel, and added icons indicating the faces for the clone trooper appearances on the customization screen. So this is a packed full update, and I'm extremely happy with it. There have been a lot of reports of people not happy with the Droidekas, and there was a weird amount of negativity around the Droidekas. Very surprising. People were crapping on it. Comparing a game from 2005 to the game made in 2017, saying that they rushed, even though Battlefront 2 2005 was incredibly rushed between the production of the game. Like, they literally had 1 year to make that game, which is why there are a lot of bugs and why there's a lot of similarities between the first and the second game, especially in content. So that is not a fair argument in the slightest.
Yeah, you can't really compare a game from 2005 to a game now, just because how technology is advanced. But I feel like they delivered on the Droidekas. I have no problems with them. I thought they were well done. I mean, I don't know how long this has been in the works, so it could have been rushed, because they didn't really tell us much, didn't tease anything at all. They just showed up with the Droidekas.
My theory, and it's not confirmed, but my theory, I should actually reach out and see if I can get it confirmed, is shortly after there was the whole thing about the wreckage in the background, the battle, so the environmental clutter in the background. I think shortly after that, they saw how interested people were in the Droidekas and immediately started working and getting those assets put together. Because we've had those assets in the game for a while, so they have been being worked on or just being thought about, played around with. Someone on their free time was messing around and made that. So that's definitely something that I think is really cool. But that's my theory, is that shortly around that time that they started to work on it. But I think that's about it for this episode of the Star Wars Battlefront podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I've been your host, Sage Goodwin.
And I'm Sam Goodwin.
You can follow us on Twitter at SWB Podcast, twitter.com/SWB Podcast. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Battlefront Podcast, like our $10 supporter, Joseph Loera. Thank you so much for supporting us. We greatly appreciate it. It helps us out a ton, helps us with the hosting of the show, it helps us with Adobe, it helps us upgrade our equipment. We really appreciate it. It helps us out a ton. A way that you can support us like Daniel Schilling does, which is through PayPal, paypal.me/tie-dye-sheep. TYEDYESHEEP. Anything that you can give helps us out a ton. If it's $1, if it's a quarter, anything helps. We really appreciate it. Another great way to support the show is completely free, is through leaving a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to the show. We would definitely appreciate a review. It lets us know your thoughts. It helps other listeners, and it lets iTunes know that, hey, people are listening to this. So it helps us get a little bit higher and suggested more.
Our Gmail is battlefrontpodcast@gmail.com. Also, our YouTube channel is youtube.com/The Star Wars Battlefront Podcast.
Definitely. And again, if you have topic suggestions, thoughts on what we covered in the episode, we would definitely appreciate thoughts. If you have a recording, we would appreciate that even more. That is awesome. Anything that you can send us and help us get you involved in the show, definitely appreciate it. You can listen to the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube. Wherever you find podcasts, you can listen to this show. As always,
thanks for listening.
And may the Force be with you.